Hello and welcome to Film Talk with AJ Dean. I'm your host, AJ Dean, and I have the amazing superstar, yes, that's right, superstar Paul Vato with me. It is you, Paul. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Thank you for reinforcing and reiterating that, because I was like, wait a minute, have I been replaced? So thank you so much. I'm doing well, and it's great to be here, and I'm so looking forward to this interview because Jerry's one of these people that I've known for I think over a year now, and I feel like we're friends, but this doesn't happen often. So this is wonderful and amazing. So thank you for putting this one together, AJ.
Oh, Paul, thank you so much. We have Jerry Weil in the building, Paul. He is an amazing actor, VFX artist, and author. He's got two cookbooks that he has.
Easy for you to say.
Two cookbooks that he has written, and with beautiful pictures, called Not Just Desserts and Just Desserts. And I just want to hold up my copy right here of mine. I bought mine. You can buy yours too on Amazon. We'll talk more about this with Jerry. Let's give a warm welcome to Jerry Weil. Hi, Jerry. Welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me.
How are you this evening?
I'm great.
It's so wonderful that you're here. You know, you're one of the major actors in Los Angeles. You've lived there a long time, and you're part of a great theater group. And you've done a lot of amazing VFX artistry on many TV and film productions. So it's such an honor for you to be here as an artist and a longtime member of the Hollywood TV and film professional community. And I wanted to get right into it, if that's okay, Jerry. We have on the screen right now, we've got two great movie posters, Centered in the Universe and Bill the Therapist. I love these. Can you share with us what they are about and what role you played in these productions?
Absolutely. So Centered in the Universe is the name for the main planetarium show that's running at the Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles. It's been there since probably about 15 years now. And so I was one of the key artists that created the visuals for it. It's the greatest job I ever had working for the planetarium. Like working for the client, like there was not an outside client, and our art director was just director and art director. I mean, they were both like really easygoing, very fun to work with, easy to work with. And we were doing, instead of blowing things up, we were creating something educational. So it was just a pleasure to work on that. And I probably created, I would say, somewhere between a quarter and a third of the imagery that you see in the show. And like I said, it's still playing there after 15 years. I think they have a new laser projection system, so it's brighter even than it was when we created it. I haven't seen the newer, brighter version, but that was a big problem when we were working on it, because it was brand new technology, this laser projection system. And anyway, yeah, so it's a whole fly through the universe, and it was just a pleasure to work on that.
That's amazing, and what an honor, because that is such part of the history of Los Angeles. I know Griffith Park. I went there, and I believe I might have seen it, Jerry. So you being a part of that, you being a part of that is so special. Don't you think, Paul?
I do, and I'm trying to think, because if it's been there 15 years, I'm sure I've also seen it. If anyone of us that have lived in LA and you're looking for something to do, you're like, oh, let's go to the observatory. So that's wonderful. And I'm really trying hard to think, but I'd love to, if next time I'll go support it and see it again. And Jerry, it must be exciting to know that it's probably been seen by, I don't know, millions upon millions,
absolutely.
millions and millions of people. Yeah. That was a bad attempt at a Carl Sagan impression, but
Billions and billions.
Millions of people. Yeah, I'm sure it has. So how exciting is that? That's wonderful.
Yeah, it was like I said, a lot of fun and very rewarding. So yeah.
What a beautiful experience that you can have always as that memory, because that's what life is made up of, great memories and experiences like that, working on Centered in the Universe. And for such great people, the Griffith Observatory, and like you said, a welcoming and nice environment, supportive to the artist, easygoing. It sounded like a dream job, Jerry, was it?
Absolutely was a dream job. I'll tell you, the only thing that might have made it better, like when we were working on it, the whole reason for them to create this brand new project was when they shut down the observatory for years for construction because it was really dilapidated and in bad shape. And I mean, the before and after is just unbelievable from what people knew from back in the day, from what the observatory was. It was really run down, and they completely just renovated it, tried to restore the great parts of it. And then they built like a whole, basement level and expanded it. And so this was part of the whole reopening, was that they were going to be presenting this brand new show. So while we were working on it, we were not actually at the observatory. We were working in the LA Zoo in some trailers across from the zoo, across the street from the LA Zoo. There, they have these trailers set up. And so that was the working location. So the working location wasn't the greatest because it's in these trailers, but the project itself was amazing.
Really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I want to encourage everybody to check out the Griffith Observatory, right, Jerry? And they can see what artistry. So you had great production. And Jerry, what about Bill the Therapist? I know this is something very special to you, isn't it?
It is. So Bill the Therapist is a web series. There was originally 6 episodes planned. We only shot 3 of them. But I play Bill, and I'm a therapist, and I'm having a really bad day. and I take out my bad day on my patients, and I'm basically the worst therapist you've ever seen. But I had so much fun. So there was different, each episode was a different patient. So I, did different horrible things to each of my patients. And it was just really fun. I sort of just stumbled upon the project. I was doing a show with my theater company, and the writer director happened to see me in the show. I was doing a monologue where I was actually a patient talking to my psychiatrist. And so I guess he got the idea of me potentially playing the therapist. And so he, sort of out of the blue, I I had never met him before, and he contacted, I think through my agent, he contacted me, and it's very weird. And I'm like, who's this guy? And then, so we just met for coffee, and he talked, and so I was not expecting much. And then he showed me the script, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And and then he shot it, and the guy that he got as the DP that shot it, was just, everything was just so professional. It came out, I couldn't have been happier with how everything came out. It looked great, it sounded great, the writing was great. And we had so much fun. So unfortunately, like I said, we only did 3 of the 6 episodes, but they were still great.
Maybe it can be resurrected in the future.
Maybe. It's kind of hard because it's supposed to all take place in one day, and so I've gotten a little older now. It was a few years ago that we shot it. So
you still look great, Jerry. And I want to say thank you so much for sending the video of Bill the Therapist, because I really enjoyed it. You're very, very good at it. You're a very good actor. Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And I wanted to let you know that. And also, what is the company, the theater company that you are a part of? Do you want to give a shout out to them? Say hi.
Sure. Yeah. It's Ensemble Theater. And we've been around for probably something like 25 years, I think, but in different forms. So back in like the 90s, when I think they were originally created, it was Theater Geo. And there was this guy, Geo Hartley, who started the theater company. And then he left, and the people really wanted to keep the theater together, so they transformed it into Theater Neo. So it was like, the new Theater Geo, Theater Neo. So it was Theater Neo for a while, and then they got their nonprofit status, and that's when they became Neo Ensemble Theater. So it's been in existence for a long time in one form or another, and there's still maybe a couple of members, I think, back from those early days that are still with us. But it's great, and we've been really, really active during the pandemic. We were about to mount a show towards the end of March, and the shutdown happened, and we had to cancel that show. And then we wound up taking one of the pieces and expanding it and doing it on Zoom. It was our first Zoom production, and we did that. We got a great response, and we had so much fun. And we started just doing Zoom productions constantly. We have a monthly thing that we've been doing, sort of a showcase kind of thing, and then we've done full-length plays and readings and one acts and just all kinds of work pretty consistently all during the pandemic.
That is fabulous. And Jerry, it sounds like a great group of people. Do you want to say hi to any particular a few people or just
I don't
everybody?
know, just hi, Neo.
Hello, Neo Theater group, and we're so thankful that you are there and still going and doing things through the pandemic and Zoom and all of that. There's always a way to do it, isn't there right? Isn't that right, Jerry?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a way.
I love that. Okay, so also I wanted to ask you what is, and then I'm going to give it over to you, Paul, to ask a question if that's all right. What is a VFX artist and how did you become one, Jerry?
Oh, how much time do we have? Okay, so that's VFX stands for visual effects. So that's what I do. It's called visual effects, not to be confused with special effects. People often call it special effects, and it's a different thing. Special effects is on-set production. That's things like explosions and things that fire, things that you do on-set practical effects. And visual effects is all the digital stuff, typically in post. Although these days now they're doing some virtual backgrounds, and so there's aspects of VFX that's actually become sort of part of production now. So it's basically all the digital elements that go into these productions: film, television, commercials, theme parks, all that kind of stuff. And I've been doing it for a long time. So I initially got into it in college. So I was a computer science major, and I didn't know anything about computer graphics. And I think it was in my freshman year, at some point, maybe second semester, the main professor, computer graphics professor, who also taught the intro class, he showed us this video of things that were going on in colleges that people were doing with computer graphics. And I was just blown away, because I always had an interest in art. I was also an art major. I was an art and computer science major. And so I thought, this is great. I get to combine art and computers, and it's like everything that I love doing. So I got heavily into it in college, worked in research, doing research for the university. And then after college, I went to work for Bell Labs, which later became AT&T Bell Labs, and doing computer graphics research. And long story short, I wound up moving out to LA to work in production. My first job in production. Company I was working for went out of business 3 months later. And a small group, there was basically two owners, and one of the owners, the two of them split off, and one of the owners started a very small company. There was four of us, and it was, and so I sort of got thrown into, I was initially doing software, and I got thrown into being an artist, and without really having much experience, and just started doing production that way, and feet to the fire, and have been doing it ever since. And I've worked for a gazillion different companies, many companies that have gone out of business.
And you're still here.
And I'm still here. Yeah. A lot of my friends have moved to Canada because so much work has gone to Canada. So I've gone through, there's been a lot of changes in the industry. It's grown just exponentially and changed so much, from when I started. And now, you can't see, there's barely a movie. I don't think there's any movie out there that doesn't have some sort of digital elements added to it in one way or another. So it's just everywhere now.
That's amazing. What an amazing story, Jerry. Thank you so much. And, I have such great respect for you because you transitioned from computers to artistry and being acting as well. And that's really your destiny. I believe that is what you were supposed to do because you're so very good at it. And so thank you for changing and doing that. Thank you for becoming who you're supposed to be in the film and TV industry because we need you. And all of those projects that you've worked in, your IMBD is full of phenomenal and incredible projects. So, Jerry, thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Thanks for the appreciation. We don't get a lot of appreciation, so it's nice to be appreciated.
Oh, bless your heart. Yes, well, we so appreciate you, Jerry. And over to you, Paul.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said there, AJ. And now, is this something? You've worked with a lot of companies. Is this something that you're able to do from home, or is it? Is it they have the more powerful computers, or because I don't know exactly how that works, but I would imagine it takes tremendous computing power. But nowadays, with what we have at our disposal. Is that something that you can do from home, or is it, no, I have to go into an office where they have this equipment?
So back, before the pandemic, most people were doing it at a location, at a company. And as you said, using their computers and so forth. Mm-hmm. I actually, coincidentally, by the time the pandemic started, I had already been working for a couple of years for a friend of mine who has his own projection mapping company. So I was doing stuff a little bit different than the film and TV. So projection mapping is where they basically map. Very often it's buildings. So we'll make the buildings kind of transform and things come out of it and fly in front of it, and and the buildings change and tell some kind of a story usually. And so I'd been doing that kind of work for a couple of years, and that had all been just on my laptop. It's fairly simple stuff, and home computers now are pretty fast, without spending a huge amount of money. So I was kind of used to working at home for a while, and then lockdown happened, and I wasn't doing anything because all of the projection mapping work is live events. So that all got completely shut down. So anyway, so because of the pandemic, all of these companies had to switch gears very quickly and figure out how to continue staying in business without having, people have to come to their office. So everybody just really scrambled and figured out ways to have their artists work at home. And so, developed all these security systems because, that's something that film industry, especially the studios, are very concerned about, not letting their stuff get out, which is one of the main reasons that, people would work from a location because, it's just, it would be too much of a high security risk often to have people at home, but they didn't have a choice. So they had to work that stuff out. So basically the entire industry figured it out. And now, 99% of our industry is work at home. So it's all changed. And I'm working for a company right now, and they have a great setup. So it's all, most of it is you VPN into the computers that they have at their location, but you're working on your monitor, or, either from your computer, or in this case, like I have these two, big high resolution monitors that the company loans out that I can use, and some other equipment that, just for security. So it's a great setup, and no more commuting. So
nice.
I love it.
You love Wonderful. It, right, Jerry?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the way to go.
I'm so happy for you that it got work. You know, there's always, like we said, there's always a workaround. So that's really smart. It also saves, it might be saving the studios. Does it save the studios a bit of money, Jerry?
Sure, yeah, because they don't have to well, you know, like for instance, the computers that they have, like they don't need again, depending on the company, I mean, a lot of them, they don't need necessarily to get any, you know, separate monitors or keyboards and stuff, because people can actually work from their you know, computers at home. They don't have to expand with, you know, because sometimes they'll have a smaller office space and then that has to get expanded when they try to bring more employees in, and they don't have to work. They just need, basically all they need is a space just to, you know, hold their computers now. And a lot of companies, anyway, a lot of companies don't keep their computers on site. They typically have these other like offsite locations where they have their computers. So yeah, some companies don't even need, you know, an office, like an actual location aside from where they have their computers. So yeah, it definitely saves them a lot of money. And they don't have to buy lunches for us anymore. You know, when we're
Yeah.
That's so cool. And I'm going to switch it up a little bit now and talk about your two cookbooks that you wrote and created, and they're absolutely beautiful. What inspired you, Jerry, to write two cookbooks, and where can people buy them? How can they get in contact with you to support you? I'm going to hold this up and show just one of my favorite pictures in it. It's Not Just Desserts, Vegan Gluten-Free Cooking by Jerry Weil. And there's so many great photos in it, but take it away, Jerry.
Oh, okay. So, well, first of all, where can people get it? So they're both on Amazon. So you can either, you know, look it up by my name or by the name of the book. If you want to, you can go to jerryweil.com, and I have links there. You can either buy it on my website, or I also have links to the Amazon sites, or you can go on my Instagram, and I also have a link there. So if you look me up on Instagram, JWIPE33 is my Instagram handle, and so you can get it there. As far as why I wrote them, so without going into too much of the story, I had some health issues many years ago, and I was not getting anywhere in terms of going to traditional doctors. And a friend of mine kept insisting, oh, you have to go see Marla, you have to go see Marla. Marla was a chiropractor that this friend of mine knew and had gone to. And so I finally said, okay, I'm just gonna go to Marla, I'm gonna check this out. And Marla really changed my life. Within the first hour of meeting with her, my whole mindset about health and medicine, it just completely changed. And it's just like my eyes just opened to a lot of things. And so a couple of her big things were having all the people that came to see her, she really tried to get them off of gluten and dairy. So that was the first thing I started with. I cut out gluten and dairy. And then for various reasons, so when I cut out gluten and dairy, initially I just gave up all those things. So, you know, I used to love eating pizza. I would have sandwiches and all these things. And I just stopped all those things pretty much, you know, cold turkey. And I was fine. You know, I missed them somewhat, but I didn't really, you know, have a craving. And after, I don't know, a year or two, I was like, you know, it would be really fun to try to make those things that I used to like, you know, see if I can find alternative ways to make the things that I used to eat years ago. So I just started experimenting. I didn't really look at recipes or anything. I just I would look at a recipe for a normal way to make it, you know, and then I would try to change it up and make it, you know, gluten and dairy free. And I started getting really good at it. And I made a lot of mistakes early on, but you know, I think you learn the most from making those mistakes. And my food just got better and better and better. And all my friends, you know, I would, you know, my friends would try the things I was making. They'd be all like, oh, you should write a cookbook, you know. So finally, I just started kind of keeping track of all these recipes, and I finally decided, you know what, I'm gonna write a cookbook. So my first cookbook I wrote, it was, and I love desserts. I have a real sweet tooth, I always have. And so my first cookbook was called Just Desserts, and it was gluten and dairy-free desserts. So that was, and it was a huge undertaking. I mean, I had no idea how much work it was making this and taking the pictures and all this. And so it took me, I don't know, a couple of years, I think, and I finally had, what I thought was enough to make this book, and published it myself. I did it on Amazon. They have their own like self-publishing way, site to do that. And so I did that. And then, as soon as I put that out, then people would say, oh, are there vegan recipes in here? Because I have this friend that's vegan, or that friend that's vegan. And so I started thinking, maybe my next book will be a vegan cookbook. So I right away almost started working on a vegan cookbook. And it was, across the board, not just desserts. It was, everything, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, everything. And so I called it Not Just Desserts. And so I started working on that. And it probably took me not quite as long, because I kind of had it down. And I mean, it's so much better, I think, in terms of the quality than the first book. I really, figured out how to make it. It just looks better. It reads better. I think everything about it is much improved. Just having had the experience of doing it the first time. So anyway, so those are the two books I have. And
a very beautiful book. And I just want to show one more time to the audience, Not Just Desserts. And I want to ask you, did you take all the photos yourself? Because they're beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, yes, I did. And I'll tell you this a little story. So when I started writing the first book, I was just taking pictures on my phone, and I wasn't really paying that much attention to how great. Yeah, I mean, they look good, but and I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was like, "Oh, you have to, get a good camera. You can't just, do them on your phone." I'm like, "Oh, it's fine." He's like, "Oh no, you should really, you should really invest in a good camera." And so I started thinking, maybe he's right. And so I got a used camera on Amazon, and I had to go back and like all the pictures I'd originally taken on my phone, I went and remade those recipes and retook them on a better quality camera. And so again, it was the same thing with between the first book and the second book. The quality of the pictures is so much better, and the pictures I take now, like, are 10 times better even than the ones in that book. I think, I've gotten much better at taking the pictures, and I really try to, just work on the plating and work on the lighting, and have everything just right when I take pictures now. So I'm not working on a cookbook. I just do it for my Instagram, but I find it really fun doing the whole food photography thing.
I really like it. I love the macaroons, and there's so many great photos and recipes in here, Jerry. And I just want to say, look at this. I love the cup. It's like this purple and black cup. And these are actually the famous Milano cookies. He's got a recipe in here, as well as shortbread cookies. And look at just the choosing of the cup. What a pretty cup, really very pretty. You just thought about everything. Do you know what I mean, Jerry? You thought about the placement, and I don't know if it's coffee in there. It's probably coffee, right?
There's coffee in there. Yeah. I don't drink coffee anymore, but I did at the time.
Yeah. And so it's just,
and now, and all my backgrounds were like, I got a white tablecloth, which I only used for taking the pictures. And I used pretty much the same tablecloth for almost all the pictures. Now I've got, again, on Amazon, I think it came from China. It took forever to get here, but it was really inexpensive for what it is. But now I have these big, like, they're just backgrounds, and I have like all different colors, all different textures. There's like wood, stone.
Ooh, nice.
And so yeah, so I can really change it up now. So I don't have just the white boring background anymore.
Oh, what fun. I love that. So I love that you're constantly improving and evolving. What do you think, Paul?
I love it. Are you kidding me? Jerry, it always makes me hungry. I always start starving when I see your Instagram feed. So it's not good for me, but it looks so amazing, and I can't wait to try some of your creations. So maybe next time
Absolutely.
I'm in
Yes.
LA, we can get together and eat
You have to
your
make that
food.
happen.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, but it's
for
just it's
sure.
beautiful, and it's like, it doesn't have to be boring or not tasty. I would imagine, there might be some misconceptions out there about either vegan food or gluten-free and dairy-free. So yeah, thank you for sharing that with the world.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
And so go on to Amazon.com. Is that right, Jerry? And
Mhm.
it's available there, both of your books. So check that
Or
out.
if you're so inclined, if you go to smile.amazon.com, you can actually support my theater company. We are listed on there. If you look for Neo Ensemble Theater, then a portion of the proceed, whatever you buy, will go to Neo Ensemble Theater, and it doesn't cost you any more. It looks exactly like, I mean, for people that don't know about Smile, it's the greatest thing. Smile.amazon.com, everything's identical. The website looks identical, but portion of everything that you buy goes to whatever charity you select. So it's a great way to support a charity.
Thank you
Beautiful.
for sharing that, because I feel like people don't realize, when they're like, oh, if I use a referral link or if I go on Smile, it's going to cost me more. No, it costs you exactly the same thing. It's just that, and people don't even realize, it's like, if you click on a link from me, if you're on my YouTube channel and you click on a link, there is, I don't know, a commission, if you will, a kickback. It's very small, but, so it's the same thing. If you go over to Smile, but you're not paying anymore. So I think that's the important thing, is that it's not going to cost you anymore, and yet still be able to support a wonderful charity or organization. So that's something I think people should know.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Jerry. And I'm just going to switch it up a little bit and change screens here and bring up another two wonderful movie posters that you worked on, Jerry. Check this out, Paul. Isn't this fun? I love learning about our family of guests on Film Talk here with AJ Dean and you, Paul. We've got Batman Forever with Nicole Kidman and Chris O'Donnell, and CSI, Crime Scene Investigation. And everybody knows and was watching on TV CSI. Oh my gosh. And everyone knows Batman. And this is one of my favorite Batmans, by the way, because it was still very bright and happy. And
Well, thank you for saying that, because most people, like, they trash this Batman, and I personally think it's one of the best. And the reason for it, because I loved the old TV show, the
me
old
too.
TV show, and this, I think, captures the that sort of essence of what that old TV show was. And nothing against, I mean, all the other Batmans are great, but it's just, they're more like the original comic books, the whole sort of dark kind of feeling to it. And this one I felt was much more tongue in cheek and like the old TV series. So
I
Sure.
agree. I agree. Absolutely. Go ahead, Paul. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I would say, especially, I remember with Jim Carrey as the Riddler and things like that. It really was a little bit more, I don't know, whimsical, if that's the right word or not, but it was more like the old one. But I get it. People are like, well, it's not like the darkness of the Dark Knight and things like that. So, well, but yeah, I'm sure I'm a huge fan. So I didn't realize that you worked on the movie poster on that, or
on the movie itself. So all of the bat signal shots,
okay,
my company did, and I probably did about half of those shots. So I came up with the whole sort of look of it, the technique that we were going to use, all that. So and there was also, was it one or two shots that actually got cut out of the movie, and they were really cool shots of bats in the bat cave. So there were going to be these shots of bats, and they wound up cutting the shots. And one of the reasons I was really bummed that they cut out one of the shots, especially because the client never noticed this, but we did notice it. There was this big shadow that there's kind of like this big, so these bats are flying in the bat cave, and there's this big sort of wall area in the foreground. And there's a shadow of, you can see like the DP smoking a cigar in the shadow. If you look at it carefully, you gotta see him like, puffing, and you can see the smoke and everything. But it was not very noticeable. You had to, kind of look for it. And so we didn't say anything, and the client never noticed him. We, delivered the shots, and everything was fine, but then they got cut out of the movie. And I was kind of bummed, because it would have been really funny to have that shot in the movie.
Sure.
With that mistake, but
it's a nice Easter egg. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love this one. This is one of my favorites, and I'm so proud of you, Jerry, working on it. Tommy Lee Jones was also in it.
Mhm.
And he played a character as well. And it just seemed like, Val Kilmer was in it. Yeah, it just seemed like Jim Carrey, and just incredible. How it was just so fun, and it was a caricature for me that because I liked a little bit of cartoonish. I like a little bit of caricature with movies. I don't like them so dark. I like, I can't see them.
That happens sometimes. Yeah, I worked on one movie. I won't say what it was, but it was, we couldn't believe how dark the director kept saying, no darker, no darker. And it's like, you couldn't see anything. He wanted it scary. So
yeah, that's amazing.
Funny.
And so I'm sorry, Paul, go ahead, love.
No, that's it's funny what the artistic license some people take. You're like, I can't see anything. Like, what's going on here? Yeah.
That's a lot of money for $20 to see, a pitch black nothing.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, back to you, Jerry. Now, CSI, Crime Scene Investigation. Tell us a little bit about that. That was just a blockbuster TV series. I mean, everybody was watching it. So popular and great acting.
It was at the time. Okay, this was one of the highlights for me in terms of my career. But I booked CSI, and it was funny story about this. So it was one line. It was a tiny little part. But my agent sent me in, for the audition, and I'm sitting in, and I was going to be playing a lawyer. So I'm coming in my suit and sitting down the waiting area. I sign in, and then I start seeing like all these, I don't know, like teenage girls coming in, signing in one after another. I'm not seeing anybody in a suit or anybody that looks like me at all. And I'm like, what is going on here? It was the strangest thing. So finally, I'm sitting there for a while. Casting director brings me in. I go into the office, and she says, well, just to let you know, your audition was actually yesterday. And my face just dropped. I was so embarrassed. I mean, it was my fault. My agent told me that it was, on the day that I went. But she said, but it's okay, because, we haven't sent the tape yet. This is back when they had videotapes. And she goes, we haven't sent the tape yet, so, we'll record you. It's fine. So I was like, oh, thank you so much. And so, I did a take. She gave me some feedback, did another take, and anyway, wound up booking that part. It was a small little part. But I wound up actually booking Without a Trace a week later. I think it was within like a 1 or 2 week period, and those were the number 1 and 2 shows on the air at the time that I booked them. So I'm like, yes, I've made it. And they aired within a month of each other or something. When I was on the number 1 and number 2 shows. Almost.
Wow. Jerry, how did that feel, working on such hot, epic shows that were just so popular?
It was amazing. Well, like I said, CSI, it was so funny because, there's a lot of funny things that happened at CSI. So, like I said, it was a little, one line thing. And my line was, what are my clients' options? That was my line. And so I was sitting in the sort of holding area with, the rest of the actors that, they were there for the day, or at least I think in my scene or the surrounding scenes. And the whole storyline with the part that I was playing was with these Laotian characters. So there was a Laotian guy who was my client, and he had been accused of murder or something. And so there was like a translator, and there was, my client, and they were all speaking in Laotian. Now, nobody on the set, or none of the actors in this whole episode spoke Laotian. It's, not a common language. But, like one of them spoke Thai, one of them spoke Mandarin, one of them spoke, Japanese, whatever, they're all like these, they all spoke like some Asian language, but not Laotian. So they had, a Laotian coach there, to help them, they wrote up the script, and they helped them with the pronunciation, all that. So they were having a really hard time, like trying to learn this foreign language, the right pronunciation, learn the lines. And some of them had they had this big amounts of dialogue. So I'm sitting in this area and they're working on the dialogue, and they're working and working. And I'm just sitting there just kind of leaning back, So finally one of the guys, and he said to me, he's like, so you're okay with your lines? And I'm like, yeah, I think I got my yeah. He's like, oh, so what's your lines? And I go, what are my clients' options? Like, and how much are you getting for that? I'm like, $800.
Oh, really?
It's like, yeah, what a deal.
Wow.
It was just funny, these other people are struggling, and I was more than happy to do it.
What are my clients'
And
options?
when they shot my scene, one of the actress was just she was having such a hard time, and she knew it before they started filming. She was going over lines, but of course, the cameras are there with the lights and and it was the last scene of the day, and we had to be out of there, and all this pressure. So of course she kept going up on her lines. So finally they just took, like little cue cards, index cards, like on C-stands everywhere, that she could be looking. So, and they were doing this all day long with other people who had the Laotian dialogue, because it was ridiculous.
Wow, Post-it notes and everything, right? I mean,
whatever it took to get out of there.
Whatever it takes. What do you say, Paul?
That's it. It's whatever it takes, but sometimes it's nice to just go in there to nail your line and watch everybody else struggle. You're like, I got this. I got one line, and I'm gonna deliver. Don't worry about me. So.
Yeah, and I kind of tried to get myself. I mean, I was not doing this to try to get more lines. I seriously wasn't. But if you've watched CSI, you know that this is typically the sort of structure they have is, there's this storyline, and then the guy confesses at the end of the show,
Sure.
So my client is sitting there confessing to this murder, and I'm sitting next to him as his lawyer, and I go to the director. This just doesn't feel right. Like, wouldn't I be trying to stop him or something? It's like, well, I need to do something. I can't just let him just go off, without. And he's like, well, yeah, but that's the show, we can't.
Okay.
I was like, well, can I at least try to touch him, And he's like, yeah, go ahead. And he's very grateful that I did that. He's like, yeah, it really gives me something to play against, because to just let him go off just didn't make sense. If I'm his lawyer, I got to try to stop him, from doing this. So I was just sort of grabbing him no.
That's amazing, Jerry. Thank you for sharing.
What year was this? When did you film this?
Oh God, 2008 or something.
Okay, yeah.
Around there.
Amazing.
Wonderful.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Jerry. And I wanted to ask you, what projects are you now excited about working on?
Well, I am so excited about a play that I'm doing this summer. It is called If I Forget. It's going to be at a great theater in LA, the Fountain Theater, and the real icing on the cake, it's directed by Jason Alexander. So I am so excited about that. And I can't wait to see. I mean, I don't know the rest of the cast yet, but I'm hoping. So I was, at the audition, I'm really hoping that they cast this one guy as the lead, because I thought he was amazing. So I'm hoping for that and hoping to get to work with him. But I'm very excited to be working with Jason and doing that. And it's a great play. I mean, it's just it's a great play.
Oh my gosh, congratulations, Jerry. This is thrilling. And let's say hello to Jason Alexander. I hope he watches this. And
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he's a big fan of yours, AJ. I know that.
he's a big fan of yours.
He's working with another Jerry, so
Exactly.
It's gotta be good.
It's gold. It's got to be gold.
Gold, Jerry. You're gold.
So we'll all have to have lunch at Monk's restaurant, okay? Sorry, that was a little Seinfeld joke. But Jason, everybody, you guys got it. And I just wanted to catch everybody in the audience up with that. That was the restaurant that Seinfeld, they always used to eat there at the Monk's restaurant. Okay. So this is incredible. So Jason Alexander, right? Wow, he is a phenomenal actor, and he just made Seinfeld so funny. I remember, oh my gosh. So you're going to have the pleasure of working for him, and will he make a cameo appearance in his own play?
No, there's no part for Jason, unfortunately.
Okay, just wanted to ask. Sometimes they do that in movies, right? Sometimes? No?
Sure.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's just we wanted to say that we love seeing him, and congratulations to him as well for his theater production. Okay, super. So, and how can people, see that, Jerry? How can people get a hold of?
That's a good question. I don't I'm sure that the Fountain Theater has a website. So if you go to I don't know if it's fountaintheater.com or org or what, but if you Google Fountain Theater in Los Angeles, I'm sure that you'll find the information is not going to be there yet, probably in terms of getting tickets, but it's running.
Keep posted, right?
I'm sorry.
Keep searching for Fountain Theater.
Yeah. It'll be there soon. It opens July 23rd, I think.
All right.
On the 22nd, and it runs till September 10th.
This is amazing. Are you excited, Jerry?
I'm beyond excited, but I have to calm myself down every day.
Well, we celebrate with you. We celebrate and congratulate with you, Jerry. We're so proud of you. And we know that you are going to knock it out of the park, and you're going to be absolutely phenomenal.
I cannot wait. I love this. The character is so much fun to play, and I just can't wait to dig into it.
Awesome. That's awesome. You're going to be great at it. And also, I wanted to ask you, what is it about acting, Jerry, that you love so much? And why is acting so important to our world?
Wow. Those are some major questions. Okay, well, the first one, why I like it so much, I think it's because you get to do all the things that you would be either too afraid to do or just would be inappropriate to do in your everyday life. So you get to be all those people, evil and just, horrible and funny and just anything that you can imagine. You can be all of those things. So I think that's what really draws me to it. I mean, I think of myself as an artist, an all-around artist. I mean, I do, all kinds of art. I mean, the cooking, and I was an art major in school. So, drawing and painting and sculpture and, and I do music and, like everything with the arts. So I like it all, but, that's the thing I think that I like most about acting. In terms of its importance to the world, I worked with a director a few years back, and I think the way he described it, I think really, really hit home for me. It's basically like a mirror to society, right? So the job of the actor is to reveal truth, or the job of the artist. It's not even just the actor. The job of the artist is to reveal truth. And that is what art is all about. And by revealing that truth, it makes society, it gives them the ability to see themselves, to see inside themselves, to understand people, to understand, others, to understand what makes us tick, what makes other people tick. So it's just such an incredibly powerful thing in society, I think. Especially, I mean, you look at, Hollywood and, movies and the impact that they can have, good and bad, on society. So, I mean, it's a real responsibility, but, it's a real privilege to be able to, I think, move society forward in a positive way by, by the things that you create.
I agree. I concur 1000%. And Jerry, movies can actually change people's lives, can't they? Stories, they can improve. They help us to identify, and we really want to change the world, don't we? When we write a story, it's all about helping each other, community, alignment, supporting. And I mean, that's what it is for me. But don't you agree, Jerry?
Absolutely. Yes. 1000%.
And Paul, over to you. What do you think?
Oh, I agree, and I like especially what Jerry was saying about holding a mirror up to society, and it's we used to say something to the effect of we teach people almost how to live, when we were doing improv and trying to keep it real and honest, and our mentor Del Close would say it's you want people to think, especially when it's improv and it's live theater, and like, oh, what would I do in that situation? But maybe it applies to all art like that. So yeah, I agree.
Thank you so much for that, Paul and Jerry. And now we're going to have final thoughts, because we have to start wrapping the show up. But during this final thoughts, we'd love to hear your message for the world, or you can give a shout out to someone, or say anything that's important to you. You can say anything that's on your heart. So I'm going to start it over and hand it over to Jerry for final thoughts. Over to you, Jerry.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I guess in general, what I want to say is to just allow yourself the freedom to follow your dreams. That the whole idea of being an actor was a dream, I think, that I always had, even as, and I don't go into all the details of it, but as a kid, even it was something I always thought about, and for various reasons I just never really pursued it. And it wasn't until many years later that I finally gave myself the the freedom to actually pursue it. And so yeah, don't let anything hold you back. If you have a dream, I think just go for it and pursue it and enjoy the journey. That's the main thing. Enjoy the journey, because that's what it's all about.
I love that. Thank you so much. We appreciate you so much. Thank you, Jerry, for being here. You've been one of our very special, valued guests at Film Talk with AJ Dean, and with Paul Vato as co-host. And over to you, Paul.
I love that. I love what you have to say, Jerry. And I think what people also maybe need to know or should know is that there's a spot for you somewhere on the team. And it's always wonderful to be able to be like Jerry, where I don't even want to say a triple threat, because my goodness, almost everything that you do is fantastic, whether it's your cooking or your acting or your visual effects or touching up photographs and things like that. But you don't need to know all those things, but there's a place for you in this team, whether it's in Hollywood or even working from home and working on projects that are artistic in nature. So yeah, thank you for sharing your experiences, Jerry. And maybe we've motivated somebody to do that. My goodness, you published your two books and self-published and whatnot. So it shows that people can do that if they set their mind to it. So thank you for sharing that with the world.
Absolutely.
I love that, Paul. Thank you. And for my final thoughts, I concur 100%. I just want to thank you, Jerry. I have a very special bond with you. I also recently, in the last 2 years, created this podcast. I was a producer for a previous podcast, and now I have my own, which was my own little dream. And I started a little late, I would say, the same as you. And I finally gave myself permission. If you can do it, Jerry, you can write a book. You're so great and phenomenal and artistic in so many areas, then other people can do it as well. Just like Paul and you and I, what we are doing. And with that said, I usually say until next time, but I'm going to do triple. I'm going to do, whoops, is this the right way?
Oh.
No, this one is not the right way. Anyway, I wanted to say we'll always be your fan, Jerry. And until next time, thank you so much for being with us. And until we meet again in the future, have a wonderful evening and take care from AJ Dean and Paul Vato and Jerry Weil here at Film Talk with AJ Dean. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, AJ, and thank you, Paul. Nice to see you. This is
Nice to see you, Jerry.
having me.
Thank you.